Shalom and welcome to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker. Joe Newby is a 10-year veteran of the United States Marine Corps who wrote for Examiner.com for 6 years. His articles have also appeared at Newsbusters, Spokane Faith and Values, and many other sites. He currently runs the Conservative Firing Line, where he discusses issues important to conservatives. You can find him at conservativefiringline.com, and he is the co-author of the book Banned: How Facebook Enables Militant Islamic Jihad. He appears here on the first Monday of every month at the 12 o'clock hour for the Conservative Firing Line with Joe Newby. Joe Newby, welcome to this, your edition of Revealing the Truth. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. How about you, Eric? Good to see you again.
Doing great. Always a good time when we're together. So, crazy, sleepy, confused, Uncle Joe.
Yeah, he's been, he's had problems for years. I don't know if people remember or not, but I think it was back in the 1970s. Uncle Joe said that politicians like him could repeal the First Amendment if they wanted to. And I mean, this guy's got a decades-long history of making crazy, stupid, silly remarks. But I'm afraid it's gotten to the point now to where people are actually questioning, Eric, whether or not this guy has dementia.
You know, he's got such an interesting twist. We actually do a special on the aging brain every month on the program with a specialist in the aging brain, both how to prevent dementia, early onset, and then if you are in early dementia that's not Parkinson's, not Alzheimer's, and not Lewy body, then there's a way for your diet to be able to reverse the impact and get clarity back.
Right.
In the case of Joe Biden, he's got something going on, and I'm actually too old for early onset. I actually asked the expert. I said, "So how am I doing with navigating?" Avoiding early onset of dementia, and he said, "I'm 15 years too old for early onset. I'm in the prime age of onset of dementia." And he said, "You're doing fine." But Joe's age. What's interesting about Joe is that there are facts taken from multiple stories and blended into a new story. So there are all the pieces of the story are actually true, but they haven't happened at the same time.
Right.
So that's just old age confusion. I probably have done that myself. Of combined different events, got my dates, but he does it with such regularity. And it seems like everybody's aware of it, but nobody's concerned about it. Now, I can imagine him sitting across from President Xi from China and talking about egg foo young.
Right.
Or asking him, sitting across from the President of China and saying, at a state dinner, saying, "Where are the chopsticks? What? Anybody? Can you pass me the soy sauce?" He's just almost a loose cannon, which makes me a little concerned that he's going to become the candidate. But I don't know that we will actually become the candidate. If he doesn't, are you thinking that? Who do you see coming in and taking over for that? Elizabeth Warren?
Well, at this stage of the game, Eric, I'd have to say it's way too early to even begin to speculate. Um, we haven't even seen a primary election take place yet. Uh, there there are still there's still a lot of fluctuations within this field. Um, Eric Swalwell has gone. Kirsten Gillibrand has gone away. So she's no longer in the race. Um, it's hard to say. I think at this point it's way too early. Joe Biden is the one who's still a front runner, despite all of these gaps. Despite well, and there was a incident here not too long ago where he went bananas on a college student there in Iowa. Um, so there's a lot yet to take place. Personally, I kind of hope Joe Biden is the Democrat nominee, because if he is, there's no question that he'll continue to act this way, and it'll just make it that much easier, I think, for Donald Trump to win. Because let's face it, um, right now, whatever Joe Biden is doing is being, contained within this box known as the Democrat Party. But if he is to become their nominee, then his craziness will be made known for the whole country to see. Now, it very well could be, Eric, that by next year, the country will have gone so far down the tubes of common sense that who knows, maybe people will actually elect someone with dementia, someone who doesn't know up from down. I am personally of the opinion, Eric, that if Satan were to run for the Democrat Party, the Democrats would probably vote for him, and the media would worship him. I mean, that's just how far we've gone in this country. Who knows? Um, who knows what can happen between now and then?
The whole cast of characters is puzzling to me. From Joe Biden to Elizabeth Warren, it's just puzzling to me who is rising up to be the voice of the other agenda, and it's really not that it's a progressive, it's really not that it's liberal, it's really not that it's socialism, it's just not conservative. It's just a not, vote not. It's no clarity, no platform, no policies, except for give everything away, and you have no money for it, so you can't very well get it done. The new IG report that just came out that was absolutely incriminating to Comey, that he violated every possible code of conduct within the FBI, but yet, for some reason, one step short of prosecution. I don't understand. If that were to be applied to you and I, we would be prosecuted.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because what we have seen, thanks to Hillary Clinton, thanks to what I call the Democrat media complex, there is a double standard in this country. We see it on social media. We see it everywhere, absolutely everywhere. We are now a country where that has a two-tiered system of justice, if you will. There are people who wanted to throw Donald Trump in jail for something that he had never done, something that was totally made up, and the media glommed on and pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. Now that that's been rendered proven with beyond a shadow of a doubt to be an absolute lie, the media is moving on to something else. The media is saying, well, that didn't work, so we'll just call Donald Trump a liar. or racist or whatever. Um, we saw what happened with Hillary Clinton, or rather, to be more precise, what didn't happen to Hillary Clinton
Right.
with her email servers and her misuse of classified information. I used to work with classified information. I personally know uh, what can happen if that material is mishandled. It's just not something that can be done. It's not something that you can just turn a blind eye to. But that's exactly what happened in the case of Hillary Clinton. She's still walking around. So we have a case. We have a country now, Eric, where there is nothing but a double standard. We have social media that says Christianity must be banned. We have a social media that says if you support Trump, then they have to censor you. If you don't support Trump, then they're going to push you up. If you violate the law, but you're a leftist, then you get a free pass. If you violate the law, or even if you don't violate the law, but if you support Donald Trump, or if you are Donald Trump, then guess what? We're going to try to throw you in jail. Eric, we are at a tipping point, I think. At some point, this has got to end.
Well, it has to end, or it's going to be the end of the nation as we know it.
Absolutely.
You know, it almost seems like you and I are more literate in the Constitution than any one of them or the entire collection of them. They're making proposals that are constitutionally inaccurate, incorrect, and non-supported and
Right.
cannot be done.
Right.
Therefore, if they were to propose legislation or pass legislation, it's going to immediately be tested in the court system, and it's going to be nullified because it violates the Constitution of the United States. What I'm concerned about is that there is no narrative whatsoever as to, in the 2.5 years, 2 years, 8 months since our sitting Congress, of what they have done. Now, there's been a lot of legislation passed that has to do with deregulation and the elimination of redundancies and things like that, but nobody's covering that. But the major platform issues are the ones that are being nullified and are not being brought to the floor. And this is something that I've watched Mitch McConnell become more and more of a less and less. And I'm not sure whether it's under direction, whether or not it's under encouragement to let them fizzle out on their own. But if we don't get certain legislation passed within the next year, prior to the 2020 election, not knowing the outcome and not knowing about the House seats and not knowing about the Senate, we may lose every chance at getting some of this legislation in place.
I tend to agree. What concerns me too is that there is legislation that sorely needs to be pushed, but isn't. For example, Josh Hawley's legislation dealing with not just social media, but with what I call the entire Silicon Valley axis of evil. What we're seeing happening on that front right now is frightening. We're seeing a collection of corporations essentially usurp our constitutional rights, and going so far as to dictating what it is and prescribing what it is that we are allowed to say, what we are allowed to think. And this is something that needs to be addressed immediately, if not sooner. It should have been addressed years ago. but it never has because we have a Congress, unfortunately, that just does not understand, in my opinion, does not understand the full nature of the problem in that area. And so what's happening is that Facebook and Google and Twitter and some of these other companies are actually usurping our constitutional rights, Eric, and this is extremely dangerous.
We have the female voice of the Democratic Party seems to be the loudest.
Hmm.
The Beto's, the Cory Bookers, they're almost like something you want to flick off. You see this something on your desk and you flick it off.
Yeah, yeah.
But the Ilhan Omar's and the just the crazy makers that are commanding so much media time.
Hmm.
It's stunning to me when you add up the minutes of airtime that are being given to somebody. Number one, that there is such a shadow cast over Ilhan Omar that criminal wrongdoing, married her brother to get citizenship, campaign fund misuse, illicit affair, all these things, and none of this is popping up in the headlines. She continues to still have a voice. This is crazy. Elizabeth Warren, who for years swore that she was Native American,
Hmm.
and comes out with an apology, finally acknowledging that she's not even 197,000th American Indian,
Hmm.
and well, that's okay. Uh, it's like the party of fabrication. It's the party of moving targets.
Hmm.
If anybody at all within the Republican Party were to do any of these things, they would be hung out to dry. I always go back to the yearbook incident in the Kavanaugh case.
Hmm.
You're going to go back to what I said. We're here in the state of Alabama. We have a governor who in 1967, 52 years ago, when Al Jolson was still being played,
Hmm.
is being accused now, or she played a black-faced role in a sketch at high school, and they're calling for her resignation because of what she did 52 years ago.
Right.
Okay. Now, I agree that even today there's people that mock the Jews, and there's cartoons, and we would love to see every one of those people go punished, but and we do punish those who war crimes, 1945, 1939, 1945, under Nazi Germany. We will hunt you down and find you as a prison guard, and you can be 93 years old, and we will prosecute you. But is that the same thing as making a deal? If you went back to 1967 to what I did in 1967, you wouldn't talk to me now.
Eric, again, this all gets back to the double standard I was talking about. There is most definitely a double standard. We see it everywhere. We see it on social media. We see it in the news. We see it in politics. We see it in Washington, D.C. Good grief, you have a member of Congress in Ilhan Omar who said that Trump is not even a human being. Okay, you have someone there who repeatedly lies, who tells fabrications, who herself came out and denigrated, downplayed the impact of the 9/11 terror attack, saying some people did some things. Well, okay. but yet she is revered as a member of the Democrat Party. The Democrats love her. The media loves her. Here you have someone, same person, Ilhan Omar, comes out and calls for peacekeeping troops. Get this, Eric, to protect a major financier of a radical Islamic terror organization in Somalia. She wants peacekeepers. She calls for protection from them. Okay, for it's a company, it's a telecom company in Somalia that has terrorist leadership, and who turns out to be a major financier of the Al Shabaab terror organization. Okay, she wants peacekeepers to protect that outfit. All right. What's up with this? Okay. She called for leniency for people who wanted to join ISIS. She went down. She said she wants the UN to come in and take over our southern border. This is in our Congress now, Eric. What is happening to this country? Are we turning stupid as a country? What's going on here?
The one thing I've noticed in the last several decades is that the idea that a representative represents their constituents is false.
Right.
They represent their own political agenda. Okay? My analysis of her community in Minnesota, actually, she does represent this strong wave of Islam in Minnesota, and so she was elected by her peers, and she is advancing their agenda. Now, their agenda is what will lead to Sharia being the next name in the equation, if they would call it for what it is, and that's an Islamization or Islamic agenda, to bring to Washington the debate as to whether or not Sharia has a place in a society or a community which is predominantly Muslim. So we're talking about Dearborn, Michigan. We're talking about several of the upper Midwest counties within the states that have been targets of jihad through immigration and migration, and have come in mass into particular areas to affect exactly what we're seeing. So sociologically, we are seeing this play out. This was something that I talked about years ago. There is you and I have a mutual friend that published with the same publisher, who maintains that when a country reaches a certain percentage of saturation, there are various tipping points at 2%, 4%, 6%, ultimately 8% is the tipping point in which you begin to see Sharia spread across the nation. America is no different. We have 6 Muslim children being born to the average Muslim family for every 1 child born to an American family, or in fact an American Christian family. So population-wise, America will have a population shift just based on reproduction, based on the small percentage of 1% that exists today, or less than 1%, will make up a much larger percentage over time.
Right. There's only one problem, though, Eric. I hear what you're saying, and I'm agreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you at all with what you're saying. However, I would like to point out, though, that Ilhan Omar, just like all the other 534 members of the Congress, take an oath. And that oath is not to their constituents, not to their ideology, but that oath is to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America.
Absolutely.
Not the Soviet Union, not Somalia, not the Quran, for that matter, Eric, not even the Bible or the Torah or any other thing, just the Constitution of the United States of America. That is their oath, okay? And if they cannot live up to their oath, then in my opinion, they should be made to leave.
I absolutely agree with you. And the Immigration and Naturalization Act of 1952 clearly states that your entrance into this country is predicated on your commitment to abide by the Constitution of the United States. Now, in the San Bernardino shooting, we had a representative from CARE who made the statement on national television that Sharia and the Quran are the highest law of the land and that they are higher than the Constitution of the United States, and that Muslims are no longer required under the Obama administration, and that act has been modified, for them to pledge allegiance to the United States, that they can continue with this agenda and do not have to negate. And that is stunning to me that we allowed that to happen. We're talking with Joe. Yeah, we're talking with Joe Newby from the conservativefiringline.com. If you have not visited the conservativefiringline.com, you can just go to their page, conservativefiringline.com. On the right-hand side, newsletter sign up. Sign up for their newsletter. You may be getting feeds from a number of other places, but this is a collection of some of the, I want to say that the rapier wit of the insights of this particular group of bloggers, commentators, Anita Kadinsky, people who I have a great deal of respect for, who are on the Conservative Firing Line staff, and then Faye Higbee and Dave Workman, and some names that you need to become familiar with. You may not be familiar with, but these are names you're going to enjoy following because they're going to give you some insight and perspective you're not going to find elsewhere in conservative commentary. And all in all, I give them a very high rating. That doesn't come lightly. I've known Joe for a long time now, and he's been a part of this program for almost 3 years, and since our inception, and came alongside of us to continue to bring the narrative that says that we're not concerned with being called homophobes, Islamophobes, racist, bigots, whatever you want to call us. We're believers in the inerrant Word of God. We are believers in God and country, and that country is the United States of America, and the sovereignty of the Constitution of the United States and the rights afforded to every citizen under that Constitution. And when you add the Bible and the Constitution, you have an unbreakable, indelible, incorruptible foundation that cannot be moved, and that is exactly what we stand for and conservativefiringline.com stands for. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to continue in this conversation with Joe Newby from the conservativefiringline.com. We'll be right back. Not everything that makes the headlines has biblical importance, but many events that happen around the world do, and you never hear about them. Igniting a Nation is pleased to teach Revealing Prophecy every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. at the Marriott 280 in Birmingham. We will cover worldwide events and insider information that will connect the dots of what's happening around the world with biblical prophecy. If you happen to miss a class, we'll televise each week's class at 10 o'clock Central Time on ignitinganation.com and all our social media outlets. Copies of the teachings will also be available to purchase on our website at www.ignitinganation.com. The Lord meets you right where you are, and so does Igniting a Nation's new live streaming outlets. You can now watch Revealing the Truth, Revealing the Bible, and Prophecy Revealed simulcast live each Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Vimeo, Periscope, and through our website, www.ignitinganation.com. No matter what device you are using, our program will automatically scale so you won't have to miss a single program. And if you happen to miss an episode, you can always subscribe to the Igniting a Nation YouTube channel and access over 1,000 interviews and never miss your favorite authors, special guests, and topics that interest you the most.
There are lots of ways to see Israel, But nothing compares to seeing the land of the book and the people of the book through the eyes of two Jewish believers who can take you on a journey that will bring the entire Bible to life. When you join Rabbi Eric Walker and his #1 rated tour guide, Edo Canaan in Israel, you'll experience incredible teachings, first-class accommodations, and actually walk where Jesus walked. You will experience the Bible transforming from black and white into living color, and you will never see the Bible in the same way again. For more information, visit us at www.ignitinganation.com/events.
The Lord contends with what contends with you, and Igniting a Nation is committed to bringing to light each and every issue that faces a believer's life. Our live stream programming and teachings take you on a journey to finding biblical truth from a wide variety of experts who share their insights into a deeper walk with the Lord. We have assembled the most comprehensive panel of experts in the fields of prophecy, caregiving, healing from trauma, shame, and abuse, and so much more. We continue to expand our teachings and programming to meet your needs. We're committed to healing the nations with biblical truth. Visit www.ignitinganation.com to develop a deeper walk with the Lord and start your journey to a transformed life. The Bible commands us to study to show ourselves approved, but most study using Bible study tools and not actually studying the Bible chapter and verse. Igniting a Nation is pleased to present Revealing the Bible, recorded and taught each week before a live audience. We take you deeper into the actual Bible and verse in both Hebrew and English and connect the dots between the Old and New Testament. You can attend our 2 classes in Tuscaloosa and Birmingham, or watch the program every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time on ignitinganation.com and all our other simulcast outlets. For more information, visit www.ignitinganation.com/events. Shalom and welcome back to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker, and we're talking with Joe Newby, author of Banned, How Facebook Enables Islamic Jihad, and proprietor of ConservativeFiringLine.com. Joe, welcome back to the show.
Good to see you again, Eric.
Joe, is it me, or does this seem like the voice of the Republican-controlled Senate is absolutely tongue-tied? They are gagged and silent in regards to a unified stand to advance the Trump agenda, the wall, immigration reform. They're just as guilty of giving him rating his style points as opposed to content.
Right. I tend to agree with you, Eric. I know it's frustrating. We have to remember, I think, though, that the swamp wasn't built in a day. This thing that we call the deep state didn't get started overnight. It certainly took more than one presidential administration to make it come to this point. So it seems reasonable to me that it will take more than one term of one president to make it completely go away. However, having said that, I think that Donald Trump should be given kudos for accomplishing as much as he has accomplished, and he has accomplished quite a bit. Given the constant attacks, given the constant roadblocks that have been put in his way, I mean, it can't be easy for a man, even Donald Trump, who's just a man, let's face it, but it can't be easy for any man to have to listen for 2.5 to 3 years to a concerted effort between the media and an entire political party try to label you as a treason, or rather is a traitor, engaged in treason with Russia, knowing full well that it's a lie. Having these same people come out and call you a white nationalist, a white supremacist, a Nazi, um, every evil under the world, that you can think of. I think they've even called him the Antichrist. Um, and essentially try to enact what amounts to a coup d'état against this man. For what? What has he done? Let's face it, Eric. What has the man done? He loves America. Uh, when you get right down to it, his only real crime, quote unquote, is that he's not Hillary Clinton. And he had the audacity to beat Hillary Clinton in 2016 when all of our betters in the media and the Democrat Party told us that Hillary was the one who would be president. So that's what this is all about, Eric. And remember, back during the 2016 election, there were those in the Republican Party, and I wrote about this at the time. There were those in the Republican Party who were willing and eager, in fact, to turn this country over to Hillary Clinton and George Soros so that they could destroy it. They were absolutely eager with this. This is where the Bill Kristols came from, the Mitt Romneys, the Evan McMullins, and that crowd. Now Joe Walsh, who has been shown to be the idiot that he really is, the racist idiot that he really is, the bigot that he is. So that's what the and these people are upset. He's not establishment. He's not one of them. And so they are willing to see this country be pushed into basically a second civil war, if need be, to get Trump out of office.
The length, and it is truly disruptive. It is truly forcing a reactionary response. Even Lindsey Graham, who's now stepped out from under the best friend of John McCain and this Siamese twins. He's now taken on his own identity and become a very clear voice. But yet it doesn't seem, Mitch McConnell is just as silent and as absent as he could possibly be. We are at crossroads now. If everybody's sitting back waiting for the IG to come out with the next level of reports, and it's going to be on the Clinton Foundation, or it's going to, if there's no indictments, if the next IG report comes out and does not indicate that there are criminal penalties, then whatever else he's assigned to do becomes just paper. It just becomes confirmation of things we knew 10 years ago, and now it's just a matter of the congressional record. The fact that he's not willing to prosecute James Comey, for leaking classified information, says that anybody in America can be a spy, and we can quote this now as precedent. The Inspector General says this isn't prosecutable. The fact that you leaked classified information. It's so interesting that in all these cases, Hillary Clinton, it wasn't classified until after she released it. It wasn't classified, James Comey, until after he released it. This diary that he kept didn't say "Dear Diary." It said it was information gathering to use against the president, and then was leaked for the purpose of using it against the president. This is treasonous. This is an enemy of the state. And the fact that we are now tolerating this, and this new IG, he doesn't have an agenda. He's another Democrat. He's
Yeah.
he's another one in this whole line. At least this 45 or 48 page report was an indictment, but not enough to prosecute, and that's very disturbing. Now, Bill Barr, who has been an AG before, who has been involved in high-level prosecution, maybe he's saying, I have a strategy and a plan here where what I'm going to do is I'm going to build to the point where America will no longer stand for another traitor, because what he did was he made Nathan Hale look like he wasn't a traitor anymore.
Well, let's put it this way, Eric, that whatever it is that they're going to do, if they're going to do anything, and personally, I'm to the point where I've got my doubts now, quite frankly. We've been at this, 3 years? We've got a little more than a year to go, a year and 2 months to make this happen, because if Donald Trump gets reelected, and I predict that he will, if Donald Trump gets reelected and this stuff is continuing, Eric, I hate to see what this country will look like in 5 years or 5.5 years by the time Trump's second term is over. I mean, what will the Democrats do then? What will the Democrats do when Trump wins in 2020? What will the media do when Trump wins in 2020? Will the media and the Democrats openly come out and call for Trump's assassination? I mean, that's about the only thing left. That's about the only thing they haven't done yet. And I'm afraid that things are going to just simply get worse if this is not corrected here and now. But that's just me. But seriously, something has got to give with all of this.
You know, the head of the Arkansas equivalent to the Gambinos is Hillary Clinton and her husband Bill, and the same things that happened in Arkansas happened in Washington. And the same things are still happening. And anybody who has credible information against them seems to wind up dead. And,
yes.
And, you know, maybe I've watched too much crime TV, but these look like the work of a serial organization who are targeting those that have evidence to be used against a particular family.
Right.
Everybody, and we're talking about numbers now. We're talking about significant numbers, all under questionable circumstances. Every one of their death is under questionable circumstances. And these are young people. They are not 80 and 90-year-old people. These are 30, 40, and 50-year-old people that are dying. This Jeffrey Epstein situation, who dies in a prison, and he's not watched, and the fall guys are going to be the two guards that didn't watch him. And they conveniently, he signs a will 2 days before his death. He conveniently has his cellmate removed. He conveniently has two guards. He's conveniently taken off of suicide watch. Conveniently. These are all convenient things. And then you have this long line of people that are associated with the Clinton administration, the Clinton Foundation. They're winding up dead while they're jogging. They're dead when they're asleep. They're dead, and there's no evidence. It's just it's somebody somewhere, and I'm trying to think of his name, and we had him on years ago. He wrote "See Something, Say Something." You know him. And he said, look, if you can just get me in the door, I was there the day the Homeland Security was created. I can tell you what is at the bottom of the swamp. Just ask me. I'll tell you. I watched the screens as they changed people's names and as they adjusted backgrounds and they removed background checks. And I was there to give you eyewitness, and I recorded all of it. All you have to do is bring me before a grand jury, and I have enough evidence to indict and convict all these people, and allegedly the word made it to the president, and this was during Jeff Sessions, and it just fell on deaf ears. I don't know what's happening now, but Bill Barr's assignment is to get this swamp prosecuted and get this swamp drained. Interesting that it's Bill Barr. Interesting that it goes back to Watergate. Interesting that there are connections there. Is he the one that blew the lid off of Watergate? Is he the one that's going to blow the lid off of Clinton Gate? I don't know. I'm so hopeful that that it's not going to be like the 2 weeks before the election announced.
Right.
That there's actually this year, in this calendar year, that we get a report that's actionable, that actually starts getting people removed from office, walked out of Congress in handcuffs, for all the media to see a lineup of 4, 5, 6, 10, 12 congressmen in handcuffs, arrested. People, you've seen in the movies that they converge, they walk into a boardroom or they walk into a large conference room, and they're there to arrest the guy in the front, and that Nancy Pelosi goes out in handcuffs, and that Ilhan Omar goes out in handcuffs, and AOC goes out in handcuffs, and then the old guard, all right, the 80-year-old, the old strong Thurman, all right, may he rest in peace, but that whole wave of people start getting marched out in handcuffs, and all of a sudden America is on this notice that, your government is collapsing, and every one of these districts would either have to have a special election, or the governor is going to have to make a special appointment, and if he is a Democratic governor, which is a high likelihood that he will be, that he will appoint a Republican in that place. He is not bound to replace a Democrat with a Democrat. And so all of a sudden, before the year's over, we could actually have the majority in the House and the majority in the Senate, if in fact this actually happens. And that is my prayer, is that the Tom Fintons, who deserves, my goodness, this man has put himself on the front line.
Oh, yes, he has.
Of a target for the Freedom of Information Act, of his organization, of suing one lawsuit after another. It's because of him a lot of this stuff is coming to light. And Fox News has done an extraordinary job of bringing it to light. But America is still asleep.
Yes, it is, and a big reason for that, a big cause for that, rather, is that we have a tech, what I call a Silicon Valley axis of evil, a cabal of tech companies, quite frankly, Eric, who have made it quite clear these companies absolutely will not allow the conservative message to get out. They have made it very clear through their actions, through their deeds, with their double standards. Anything, for example, on Facebook, if there is an article that they don't like, they will accuse you of posting nudity and sexual content and ban you for 30 days. I'm seeing this happen right now with a Christian ministry who has been viciously attacked by LGBT trolls and people who have literally called for their murder. And Facebook is okay with that. Facebook, through their actions, says that if an LGBT troll comes out and calls for their murder and the post gets reported, then that post does not violate their community standards. But yet these people come out and put out an article, and Facebook bans it, falsely claiming that it contains nudity or sexual content when it doesn't. And when you try to reach out to Facebook, Facebook won't respond. When you have that kind of thing going on, Eric, and you have a government that refuses to deal with this treasonous deep state And with this coup d'etat, this deliberate coup d'etat against a sitting president, um, I've got to tell you, Eric, something has got to give, and it has got to give soon, because I can't help but think that we are on our way to yet a second bloody civil war if this is not corrected and corrected soon. And when you want to know why it is that people don't know, it's because of the so-called mainstream media. It's because of this tech cabal in Silicon Valley that refuses to let people see the information that needs to be seen. So I'm hopeful, knock on wood, I'm hopeful that things will change, but I'm also realistic enough to know that we are living in a period of time in which good is now considered evil, and evil is considered good. And this is something that has been predicted for thousands of years, that this would
Absolutely.
happen.
Well, the filth on the streets of San Francisco, the filth on the streets of Los Angeles, the human waste problem that's becoming epidemic in our major inner cities, the drug use and the drug paraphernalia which is left on the street, that there is not an outrage that that there's neighborhoods in Los Angeles who are covered with human feces, that there are neighborhoods in San Francisco that are covered with human feces, neighborhoods in New York
Right.
covered with human feces. This is actually such a metaphor for what's going on in America, is that we will complain about and show it on camera that it exists, and the representative of that particular area, that citizenship, will stand on the floor of Congress and will condemn every program that's been sponsored by the Republican Party and propose free health care, propose free tuition, forgiveness of all debt, all these things. But why are they not asking for emergency funds to clean up the plague of their city? That's real, actionable, and is pro-America and pro their constituency. I don't get it, and I don't understand how there is not an outcry in the community. We've been talking with Joe Newby, author of Banned: How Facebook Enables Militant Islamic Jihad, and the proprietor of ConservativeFiringLine.com. Visit ConservativeFiringLine.com and sign up for the newsletter and get these stories and so many more. They're a very prolific blogger and a very prolific reporting entity that has had a great deal of impact on the conservative biblical world view. Joe Newby, always great to see you, and always extend our prayers for your wife and
Thank you.
for your co-host, Mr. Bird.
Thank you. It's good to see you, Eric.
Good to
Thank
see
you, and
God
God
bless, my
you.
friend. See you next month.
All right, we'll see
All
you.
right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll bring in the next edition of Revealing the Truth.